Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We are diving deep today into, well, one of the most critical documents out there on the future of work.
The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025.
Exactly. And this isn't just some small survey. This is a massive piece of work.
Oh, it's huge. They've pulled data from over 1,000 global employers.
And that represents what? Something like 14 million workers worldwide?
Over 14 million.
Ah.
So the volume of data here gives us this really crucial, concrete window looking out to 2030.
And the core message seems to be change. Massive change.
Massive structural transformation in the labor market. That's the headline.
And when you first look at the numbers, it's almost a paradox.
It really is. You see this immense labor market churn.
Churn is the perfect word for it. The report estimates that the total change jobs created plus jobs destroyed will be about 22% of today's global jobs.
22%. I mean, just sit with that for a second. That's an enormous amount of displacement happening all at once.
But it's not all bad news. It's crucial to look at the net result, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to anchor on the net result, which is actually positive growth. The WEF thinks the global economy will create about 170 million new jobs.
Which is about 14% of current employment.
Right. But, and this is the big deal, but at the same time, 92 million jobs are going to be displaced. That's 8% of current employment gone.
So if you do the math, that's a net growth of 7% or 78 million new jobs by 2030.
Correct. A net gain of 78 million.
But as you said, the real story here is the friction, the chaos of displacing 92 million people while trying to fill 170 million new, completely different roles.
Precisely. That friction is why we're doing this deep dive. Our mission today is to break down what's driving this, this enormous transformation.
So we'll look at the 5 major macro trends and then get really granular on the specific jobs and skills that are, booming versus those that are declining.
Exactly. You need a clear roadmap for what the next 5 years actually look like.
Okay, so let's start at the top. The root causes. What are these 5 big global forces churning everything up?
So we've got 5 primary forces. Technological advancement, specifically digital access, the green transition, geoeconomic fragmentation, economic uncertainty, and finally, demographic shifts.
And employers don't see them as equal forces, do they?
Not at all. It's fascinating how they weigh the impact of each one.
So let's hit the top 3. According to those 1,000 employers, what's the single most transformative trend?
Number 1, and it's by a pretty significant margin, is technological change. Specifically, what the report calls broadening digital access.
60% of employers expect that to transform their business.
60%.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking about AI here. This is the bedrock. It's the fiber, the cloud, the connectivity that makes everything else, from remote work to advanced robotics, even possible.
It's the foundation that makes sense. But the number 2 trend is really interesting because it feels so immediate.
You mean the rising cost of living and inflation?
Yeah. Half of all employers expect that to transform their business, even with inflation projected to ease a bit.
And this is a critical point for you to grasp. This trend doesn't just mean layoffs.
Right. It's more nuanced.
The pressure of high costs means companies just can't afford to be inefficient. They can't stagnate.
So what does that do to the skills they need?
It actually increases the demand for very human skills, like creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, agility.
Because you need people who can adapt on the fly.
You need hyper-adaptive employees who can find innovative ways to protect margins and optimize things when they're under constant financial pressure.
So economic pain creates a need for intellectual dexterity. Okay. And driver number 3.
That would be the green transition. Climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. 47% of employers cite that as a transformative trend.
And this isn't just a concept, it's a genuine industrial revolution.
It is. It's a massive structural force creating entirely new industries and jobs, which we'll get into.
Okay, let's quickly touch on the other 2. They have a more subtle but still profound impact. First, geoeconomic fragmentation.
This is all about rising geopolitical tensions, trade restrictions, supply chain worries. About a third of organizations expect this to transform their business model.
And the biggest consequence is what? Where things are physically located.
That's the major reversal. For decades, we've talked about offshoring.
Right.
But employers who see these tensions as a big deal are now more likely to reshore their operations.
So bringing production and manufacturing back home.
Exactly. Moving it closer.
Yeah.
And that has an immediate impact on jobs in domestic logistics, security, supply chain management. It's a huge shift back toward localization.
It really flips the script.
Okay.
And the 5th driver, Demographic shifts. You mentioned this creates a kind of dual reality.
That's right. You see two totally different things happening. In higher income economies, you have aging and declining working age populations. This affects about 40% of organizations.
And if you have a shrinking labor pool, what's the response?
Automation, accelerated
Yeah,
automation.
of course.
79% of the companies impacted by this plan to accelerate automation and robotics. They're using machines not just for efficiency, but for, well, sheer capacity replacement.
And on the flip side, in lower income economies,
You have these huge, growing, working-age populations. Think India, sub-Saharan Africa. The challenge there isn't replacing people, it's creating enough inclusive jobs for them.
which would fuel demand for what? Teaching, training.
Exactly, the human-centric jobs.
Yeah.
Teaching, mentoring, you have to upskill this massive wave of young people at scale.
So those are the 5 forces: digital access, inflation, climate, geopolitics, and demographics. Let's get down to the ground level now. What does this mean for specific jobs?
Okay, let's look at the roles with the fastest percentage growth. These are, largely driven by AI and all that digital infrastructure we talked about.
The high-velocity, specialized jobs. Give us the top 3.
The top 3 are all heavily tech. Leading the pack, you have big data specialists, then fintech engineers, and right behind them, AI and machine learning specialists.
So the people who can build and maintain the digital world are in high demand. No surprise there.
Not at all. But the green transition is also creating very specific, quantifiable roles.
Right. It's not just a philosophy. It's an employment engine.
Absolutely. We're seeing huge spikes in demand for autonomous and electric vehicle specialists, environmental engineers, and renewable energy engineers. All of those cracked the top 15 fastest growing list.
Okay, so that's the growth story. Now for the other side of the coin, the roles facing the biggest decline. You called it the clerical crisis,
And that's really what it is. The decline is overwhelmingly in clerical and secretarial jobs.
driven by AI and digital systems just handling all those routine tasks now.
Almost entirely. So we're talking about roles like cashiers and ticket clerks, administrative and executive secretaries, postal service clerks, bank tellers, data entry.
Huge number of people globally. But here's the insight I found really striking, the thing that shows how fast this is moving.
The knowledge work shift.
Exactly. Roles like graphic designers and legal secretaries, they used to feel relatively safe. But this new report projects them for decline.
And that is the aha moment. It just shows the exponential speed of generative AI.
So what's happening there?
It means Gen AI is now good enough to substitute for those intermediate knowledge tasks. Things like summarizing a legal document or drafting a first-pass email or generating some initial design mock-ups
Tasks that used to be exclusively human.
and required some interpretation and complex writing. Now they're being heavily augmented or even outright replaced. The efficiency gains are hitting higher up the cognitive ladder than ever before.
But let's shift focus from percentages to sheer volume, the largest absolute number of new jobs. There's a really surprising winner here.
There is. If you thought the future was all tech, well, you'd be wrong.
So who's at the top?
Farm workers, laborers, and other agricultural workers. They're projected to add a staggering 35 million new jobs by 2030.
35 million. That's a massive number. Why agriculture, an industry people often think of as static?
It's that convergence of the 5 drivers we talked about. It's tied to the green transition, so more sustainable farming. It's tied to digital access for precision agriculture. And it's tied to the rising cost of living, which demands more efficient local food production.
So the future of food is actually labor-intensive, just augmented by technology.
That's a perfect way to put it.
A really profound counter-narrative. What other big volume jobs are coming?
Well, we also see huge absolute growth in logistics and construction. The world still needs to be built and things need to be delivered.
So light truck and delivery drivers.
High up on the list, along with building framers and finishers. So you see this complex reality. The world needs people to deliver things, build things, and yes, code the systems that manage it all.
Okay, let's quantify this human-machine split a bit more. That dividing line between tasks done by people and tasks done by tech is moving fast.
It's shifting dramatically. Employers estimate that today about 47% of work tasks are done mainly by humans alone.
And by 2030?
That number drops to just 33%.
Wow. A 14-point drop in just 5 years.
It's the sound of automation accelerating. The rest of the work will be split, more or less evenly, between tech-only tasks and human-machine collaboration.
And what's driving that reduction in human-only tasks? Is it all just pure automation?
A huge chunk of it is. About 82% of that reduction comes from advancing automation. And if you're looking for the single biggest net job displacer, it's robotics.
So robotics and autonomous systems are projected to cause a net decline of how many jobs?
A net reduction of about 5 million jobs globally.
That sounds like we should be bracing for this mass substitution, but you mentioned a Gen AI reality check. It's more about augmentation, right? The machine as a co-pilot.
That is so crucial to understand. The data on this is really clear. There was an analysis that used GPT-4o to map Gen AI's capability against over 2,800 skills.
And what did it find?
Here's the key finding. 0 of those 2,800 skills showed a very high capacity for replacement by current Gen AI tools.
0. That's a powerful stat.
It is. In fact, 69% of skills have very low or just low capacity for substitution.
So that should calm some of the more alarmist headlines.
It should. Gen AI is still very limited in tasks that need physical execution, manual dexterity, or nuanced human judgment, like the empathy a nurse needs or the active listening a manager uses in a tough negotiation.
So if it's not good at those things, where is it strong? How does it act as that co-pilot?
It's the ultimate co-pilot for knowledge work. Data mining, reading, writing, math. It's brilliant at summarizing a huge report or drafting an email or running complex calculations in seconds.
So it frees up the human worker to focus on the higher level strategy and judgment.
Exactly. Less time on routine cognitive tasks, more time on complex application.
And I imagine this varies a lot by industry. Some are leaning into augmentation, others pure automation.
A very clear split. Fields like medical and healthcare services or government, they show a much higher preference for augmentation, for collaboration.
So the tech is there to support the professional, not replace them.
Right. And then on the other end, you have industries like insurance or telecommunications.
And they're going for pure automation.
They're leading that trend. Over 95% of the reduction in human-only tasks there is expected to come from deeper automation. They just want to eliminate human intervention in standardized processes.
Okay, let's move to skills. This seismic shift means skills are becoming obsolete faster than ever. If you're listening, trying to future-proof your career, this is vital. How bad is the skill instability?
Well, the core number is still high, but it's stabilizing a little. 39% of a worker's current skills are expected to be disrupted or outdated by 2030.
And that's actually down from 44% in 2023. Why is it stabilizing?
We think it reflects that global training efforts are really starting to accelerate. The report found half of all workers have now done some kind of training or reskilling.
That's a good sign. But still, 39% of skills going obsolete is a lot. So what are the fastest growing skills? What's the new core curriculum everyone needs?
It's this fascinating blend of tech mastery, green awareness, and core human capabilities.
Okay, so on the tech side, I'm guessing AI and big data.
Of course. AI and big data, networks and cybersecurity, and just general technological literacy, all booming.
But what about the essential human skills? In a world of automation, why are they rising so sharply?
Because they're the skills AI can't touch.
Yeah.
Creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, and agility. When the market is in churn, you need humans who can pivot and innovate under pressure.
The machine handles the data, the human handles the ambiguity.
That's it perfectly. And you see the green imperative here too. Environmental stewardship has entered the top 10 fastest growing skills for the first time.
And the demographic shifts we talked about earlier, they're also boosting demand for certain human skills, right?
Absolutely. They're directly increasing demand for things like talent management, teaching, and mentoring and motivation, the skills you need to manage and inspire the huge workforce of the future.
The scale of upskilling required is, well, it's pretty sobering.
It is. Let's use a metaphor. If the global workforce were 100 people, 59 of them would need training by 2030.
59 out of 100? Wow.
Of those, employers expect to upskill 29 in their current role and reskill another 19 for a new role in the same company.
Which is a massive internal effort, but that leaves a gap, a pretty disturbing one.
It does. The report is clear on this. 11 workers out of that 100 would be unlikely to get the training they need.
Leaving them incredibly vulnerable.
And the constraint isn't usually money. 86% of training is funded by the organization itself. They know it boosts productivity and makes them more competitive.
So the money is there, but the training isn't getting to everyone. What are the biggest barriers that executives point to?
The single biggest barrier is talent scarcity. The outlook on talent availability is actually net negative. And when they try to adopt AI specifically, the top obstacles are a lack of skills and, critically, a lack of vision among managers and leaders.
So the tech is available, but the human capital and the organizational structure just aren't ready for it.
Not at scale, no.
So to sum this all up, what we've seen is this enormous, complex, high-velocity picture, unprecedented job churn driven by 5 global forces.
Right. Leading to this exponential demand for tech and green skills, but also this persistent, essential need for uniquely human capabilities, like creativity.
And while training is accelerating, that skills gap is still the dominant barrier holding everything back.
And if we just connect all that to the bigger picture, the philosophical side of automation, it raises a really important question for all of us.
What's that final question?
Well, if technology is going to take on a larger share of the work, and therefore a larger share of the output and the income,
Right.
to what extent will human workers, whose labor is being complemented or substituted by these advanced machines, actually be able to share in that resulting prosperity?
A huge question.
The future really depends on whether our investment and policy choices prioritize augmentation and shared gains over just simple siloed replacement.
A profound thought to end on. The choices we make today decide who benefits tomorrow. Thank you for guiding us through this crucial roadmap.
My pleasure.
Until the next deep dive, stay curious and stay informed.